So week 10 of fat loss, 4 weeks to go until a photo shoot. And what I thought I'd do today is just document what a typical day looks like in getting yourself shredded and what it entails, everything you need to consider from nutrition, training, everything like that. I'm just going to walk you through the day because I feel like on Instagram, it's hard to get that across in just a short reel. So on YouTube, it's much better to see behind the scenes of what I'm actually doing. Hopefully you can take away some ideas from it. Hopefully you can start to like implement some of the things I do into your day-to-day life to then obviously get you boss results for summer as well and get you shredded. To be honest, I haven't got a lot left to lose now. And just to give you a bit of perspective of what it's looked like so far, I've been in it 10 weeks. I'm around 9 kilos down. I reckon I've got about 3 kilos to go. And I haven't documented most of it on YouTube yet. So far, if I had to summarize what it's been like briefly, it has been tough. It has been hard. I haven't been eating out as much as I normally would in a building phase. When I have ate out, I've ate things like Nando's, Wagamama's, things that you can calorie count for on the menus and you can fit into your plan when you do make the right choices. But it hasn't been as hard as last time round. And I feel like the reason for that is because I've spent so long building muscle in the 9 months beforehand. So from like June of 2025 to March of this year, I've done a long productive building phase. I stayed lean throughout it. I only gained around 12 kilos, which was a very gradual rate of gain over time. And because I've managed to keep myself so lean throughout that process, and I've built more muscle throughout that process, by the time I've came back round to being in a calorie deficit again for fat loss, the barrier for what's created a deficit for me has been so much higher than what I expected. If you look at this chart here, you can see I started on around 3,100 calories, and throughout most of that phase, it hasn't really had to drop that much to keep me progressing and to keep me dropping body fat. So the barrier for what's created a deficit this time round has been much higher in terms of food intake than what it's ever been. When I've been through a photo shoot prep in the past, most of the time I've probably spent it at around 2,200 calories and 2,000 calories a day. And it's only now, when I'm 4 weeks out, I'm having to drop to 2,200 calories. Most of my fat loss in terms of the 9 kilos that I've lost so far has been in and around 2,600, 2,800 calories. So what you can take away from that is spend time building muscle outside the fat loss. When body fat is gone, don't just get out of shape again and don't just see that as the end goal. Look to develop your physique, look to build some muscle, look to make sure you stay in shape all year round. Spend a long period of time in a building phase, make it productive, because by the time you get back round to your next fat loss phase, it's going to be so much easier because the barrier for what creates a deficit in terms of food intake is going to be so much higher each time as your body changes over time and as you build more muscle over time. So that's one of the biggest things I've learned so far from this. Now, obviously now it's going to get more tough. I'm now on 2,200 calories training days and 1,950 rest days. So I'm in the last 4 weeks. This is the smackhead zone, as I like to call it, where I'm going to start to feel flat. It is going to start to get tough. Hunger's going to start to creep up, fatigue's going to start to creep up. But I'm 9 kilos down in 10 weeks. I reckon I've got about 3 kilos to go, roughly, before I'm fully shredded for the photo shoot. I actually did reach a plateau last week as well, which is something I want to speak about a lot today, because it is normal throughout this process to reach plateaus. And you can see in that chart that I showed you before that my food has gradually dropped over time, and that's why, because it is needed to keep up a good rate of loss. The same plan will not work forever in fat loss. And it happened again recently last week. I was stuck in the mid 84s at around 2,600 calories training days, 2,300 rest days. So it was time to make an adjustment to food intake. And that is just one of the ways you can make an adjustment to your plan. But that's why I've dropped off around 300 to 400 calories on average now to this current plan. And since I've done that this week, I've dropped into the 83s. So we're back in a place of progression again and consistently dropping off on the scales. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to finish this black coffee and then I'm going to go to Aldi. I need to do a food shop. I'm not going to be one of those helmets that takes you around Aldi showing you what food you need to buy, showing you what food you need to avoid. That's just not me. I'm not going to do that. But what I will do is I'll show you my food intake, what I'm going to have for my first meal, because that's going to be my pre-workout meal. We've got Torso 2 later. And then I'll just give you an insight into what my food looks like for the rest of the day then as well. We've then got some programs to do, got some new starter setups, got some new starter calls as well. So I'm going to be back at the desk after that, doing some work, and I'll just take you through the day of what that looks like then. Let's get into it. So this right now is one of my favourite breakfasts before training. So this is meal number 1, pre-workout meal. 2 eggs, 2 bacon medallions, 120 grams of sourdough, loads of micronutrients in tomatoes, watercress, rocket, onions, spinach, and you get a good amount of fibre from this as well. So it's nice and filling. 71 grams of carbs. So I'm having a big chunk of my carb intake for the day right before the train. So the reason my first meal looks like that and it's so big and there's so many carbs in it is because I tend to train in the late morning. So I want my breakfast packed full of carbs so I can fuel my session as best as I possibly can whilst I'm in fat loss to make sure I'm retaining all the muscle that I've worked so hard to build and I'm still getting those strength numbers. What can tend to happen is if you go to the gym starving and you slash carbs out and you go quite extreme with it, you're just going to keep getting weaker over time. And what's going to happen next? At the same time as dropping body fat, you are then just going to lose muscle over time as well, which is what you don't want. That's the obvious mistake people make, but also a mistake people make is not getting the correct timing of when they should have the carbohydrates, when they need them most. Obviously, in a fat loss phase, they do get dropped. They are much more limited, but it doesn't mean to say you don't prioritize them around training, because that's when you should be using them most. That's the whole purpose of them. So for example, I use them now in the morning because I train in the late morning. If you're someone who works all day and then trains in the evening, maybe you might want to use them more towards your lunch break, or maybe you might want to use a lot of them straight after you finish work and then allow them to digest. So then when you get home for a bit and then get yourself ready for the gym to go about 6 or 7 o'clock, then it's fully digested then and you're fueled for that session. But this is definitely worth thinking about. If your priority is to retain and build muscle, your carb timing and how you distribute them across the day is massively important. If you look at the log I've got here on MyFitnessPal, then you can see all my calories and macros are hit already. I've planned out the day ahead of time. You can see my breakfast there, it's got 76 grams of carbs in. You can see my lunch has got 61 grams of carbs in. So most of the carbs are getting consumed before and after training when I need them most. You can see here for dinner, sweet potatoes in there, 48 grams of carbs. And then the evening snack, which is Greek yogurt with strawberries, chia seeds, dark chocolate, bit of whey protein, bit of honey, has got the lowest amount of carbs in at 37 grams when I don't really need them that much, okay? So that's where you just need to plan things out ahead of time as well. I've planned all that in at the start of the day, so I know exactly what I'm hitting. I know when I'm training, I know when I need my carbs, and it's all planned out for me to hit then. So I've just got to the gym now to do my second torso session of the week. And what I wanted to just mention around training at this point in fat loss is that you can't expect to take many progressions. Now, everyone's different, of course, and if your plan's set up in the right way, you're doing everything I said before with fueling yourself. If you're new to training, if you're coming off a period of inconsistency, you can absolutely still progress loads during fat loss with training. But for someone like myself who's been training like 8 years now, my progressions are few and far between when I'm in fat loss, especially at this point towards the back end when I'm nearly shredded. So a win for me now would be going in there and still being able to get the 48s up for reps on my dumbbell incline bench press and also 40 kg for dips. If I can get those two today, I'll be absolutely made up, because it means I'll be retaining muscle as well as dropping body fat. So I've just got back now, had my post-workout meal then, and maintained pretty much all my numbers in that session then, which I was absolutely made up with at this stage, 4 weeks out, and especially after a big food drop-off this week as well. So it's a sign that the basics are being nailed with recovery, training volume, your nutrition as well, if that is happening to you. So happy with that. I've now got a work block. I've got client programs to write. I've got existing client catch-up calls to get through, and then also new starter calls as well, to make sure they're up and running and ready to go and start getting results. Okay, so if it's one of them where like you're working 8 till 4:30, you're coming home first, you're not going straight to the gym from work, then this is how I'd recommend you going about it. And it was sort of bang on to what I expected anyway, to be honest, when I was designing this meal plan for you. So obviously you've got a bit of breakfast there. You can have that before work, during work. I don't know whether you get opportunities to eat in work or whatnot.
Yeah, always, yeah. There is times when I both squeeze in that.
Sound. Even better then. So that's easy and convenient for you there with a brekkie. And then you've got a lunch there, chicken wrap, which is quite light on the carbs. So I've then saved the majority of your carbs for when you do finish work, essentially. Or in an even better case scenario, if you can have this before you finish work, then you can have it at like 3:30ish, something like that, 4.
Yeah.
Or you can have it as soon as you get home from work, because if you're not going to the gym till 7, you've got that time to digest that high carbohydrate meal then. So you're going to be fueled going to the gym then, do you know what I mean? But yeah, does that make sense around like meal timings?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Happy days. Yeah, it's one of those with 6 days a week, everyone thinks more the better, but it's quality that matters so much more than quantity as it relates to muscle growth, do you know what I mean? So we'll go for 5 days a week, okay? I know you probably want to prioritise up quite a bit, so we'll go for a push-pull leg split, but we'll do it as like a push A, pull A, and then we'll do like a push B and pull B, and then we'll do legs and arms in between, okay? Happy with that? As a 5-day split?
Yeah, that's sound, definitely.
Sound. But if you feel like it is too much, mate, we can go to 4 days as well, okay? Just so you know, just let me know. And we can just turn that into a push-pull legs upper split then. The way I've set out this routine is you do push A Monday, pull A Tuesday, legs and arms Wednesday, have a rest Thursday, push B Friday, pull B Saturday. Now the reason I'd like a rest day through the week is just because I like you to have a rest day after 3 days of resistance training, just from a recovery standpoint. Otherwise the back 2 sessions at the back end of this week might be a little bit shit for you. You might feel a bit fucked, especially when you're in a deficit. Just finishing off the last of the 10k steps which you need to hit today. And one of the main things I just want you to take away from this video is the fact that you shouldn't be scared to adjust your plan. If your weight is stalling every single day for like a week straight, you've got to do something about it. You've got to adjust your plan. You shouldn't be scared to make adjustments. You shouldn't be scared to lower food intake. As long as you're doing it in the right way, it can be done. Don't get me wrong, fatigue levels are going to start to creep up. Hunger levels are going to start to creep up each time you make these type of adjustments to break through the plateaus. But as you've seen before with me, as soon as I made that adjustment of 300 to 400 calories less than what I was on, it didn't affect me strength sessions, didn't affect me numbers in the gym. So I can be assured that I was retaining muscle all week because my numbers have still been the same as you've seen before from me bench press and from me dips as well. It can absolutely be done. Don't be scared to lower food intake just because you're scared to lose muscle. You can still lower food intake to break through plateaus. As long as you've got the right plan in place, got the right meal timings, the right carb timings, you can still keep progressing with fat loss whilst retaining muscle as well and retaining strength. Make sure you subscribe because there's going to be more episodes like this coming up that you'll find really useful on the lead up to my photo shoot. And it'll give you a realistic insight into what it's like behind the scenes to go through something like this in case you want to do it yourself in the future and you want to get shredded. And for any coaching inquiries, drop me a DM on Instagram and then we'll have a chat about your goals.